Okay, hello, good afternoon, or for those students tuning in from different time zones or watching this as a recording, good morning or good evening. My name is Sasha Greenfield, and I'm one of the associate directors at the NYU SPS Wasserman Center for Career Development. I'm thrilled to be kicking off today's event that will focus on how to create a future-proofed career path in tech PR. As we all know and are probably sick of hearing, these are very challenging times for everyone, but especially for students who are working hard to launch a career or going through a career change, which I know many of you are. But in challenging times, there's always opportunity. Today, we are so excited to have Method Communications here with us, a growing global PR and marketing firm with clients like Facebook, Bloomberg, and 1Password, to name a few, and an organization that was recently recognized by PR News as a top place to work. We are lucky to have three of their talented PR professionals present, Margaret Bonaparte, Sierra Thomas, and Sarah Riley, who are going to give us a glimpse into Method, their careers in tech PR, and why it's an industry that's currently seeing a lot of growth. I encourage you as students to take advantage of this opportunity to learn about this field and stick around for the networking session at the end, where Margaret, Sierra, and Sarah have so generously dedicated their time to meet with you in small groups to answer your questions. Without any further ado, I want to turn it over to Margaret, Sierra, and Sarah, and thank you for dedicating your time to help our students today.
Absolutely, we're excited to be here. So we have a short presentation for you that we want to run through. And then, as Sasha said, we're hoping you'll stick around for some networking sessions with myself, Sarah, and Sierra to learn more about PR and our own journeys and how we can help you as well. So I will go ahead and start the presentation. All right. Kicking things off with some more formal introductions, I'll hand it over to Sierra.
Yeah, nice to be here with everyone. It's fun that we're able to be with you virtually right now. I'm Sierra Thomas. I'm actually based in Salt Lake City, and so pretty far from you guys, but it's cool that we get to do this virtually. I've been with Method for 5.5 years now. I graduated in public relations from Brigham Young University, which is in Provo, Utah. And I actually started at Method right after graduation. Funny enough, when I was in college, I always told myself I'm never going to work for a PR agency. Like, I'm going to go find something else to do. But here I am 5.5 years later at Method, and it's been a great experience too. It's I wouldn't say that going into this, I was super techie or super passionate about tech, but it's interesting how being in a tech agency has made me really, I still wouldn't say I'm like the most techie person in the room, but it's a really fun and evolving field, and it's a really cool place to be and to start out a career. So that's a little bit about me. Nice to be here with you guys.
Awesome. And I'm Margaret Bonaparte. I'm an account supervisor in our San Francisco office. I've been at Method a little over 4 years. And I did not set out to work in PR or tech or any of that. I actually studied history and French in college. I graduated from Scripps College, one of the Claremont colleges in Southern California, and always knew I wanted to do something creative, but didn't know what that was. And kind of found my way into agencies after my first year of college and have been here ever since. And like Sierra said, I also would not self-define as a techie, but I have learned a lot. And it's been great to, every day is different, and learn about all these industries that I never would have sought out on my own.
Thank you all for joining us. We're excited to discuss PR, obviously. I'm Sarah Riley. I'm an account supervisor based in New York City, so closest to you all. I initially started in San Francisco at a boutique enterprise PR firm for a couple of years before coming to Method almost 3 years ago exactly. And for a couple of years in San Francisco, and then now in New York for over a year. Similar to Margaret and Sierra, I would not say that I'm a deeply technical person, but it's been fun to pick it up and to feel like I'm constantly learning on my variety of accounts. So looking forward to discussing more.
So like we said, we are Method Communications. We've been around for about 10 years, and we really define ourselves as the scrappy startup of agencies. We are a very flat hierarchy, in pre-COVID times when we're in the office, we're all on an open floor plan. There are no offices. You're talking with vice presidents, SVPs, account executives, fellow interns across all levels.
Yeah, and one of the cool things about Method, we were actually acquired about 2 years ago now by Chime, which is an agency that is London-based, and their focus is more sports and entertainment PR and marketing, and so it's kind of cool to be a part of that network as well. They're building out more of their tech focus too. So we work with a number of different agencies, and we have that growing network across the world right now. And so one cool thing that I've been involved in is what's called the Chime Innovate Board. And it's an under 30 board where we collaborate with people from all over the world in the different agencies and the different sectors to really try and figure out, what's going to propel our agency forward, and figure out what's going to help make it more inclusive. We have different initiatives that we work on throughout the year that we present to the founders and the executives that are over Chime. And so that's just one of the cool things that we're able to do here, is have that visibility and opportunity to have our voices heard and to make a difference within the broader agency.
And I'll add that Method is pretty unique in its founding, because a lot of times PR agencies are founded by lifelong agency people that have only ever worked in a PR agency. But our two founders, our CEO, David Parkinson, and our GM, Jacob Moon, both have very different career backgrounds. So David was an in-house comms person for the Sorensen family in Utah, which owned a big conglomerate of different kinds of businesses. So he is strictly in-house experience. And then Jacob was a reporter before getting into PR. So it really helps us connect with clients who are paying us obviously from their in-house positions to do agency work, and then with reporters who we work with to secure stories for them.
And then I know we've talked about how we're a tech agency. So here's a quick rundown of just some of the companies that we currently work with or have worked with previously too, with a focus on, we have fintech, we have consumer tech, we have enterprise tech, education tech, different things like that. But we also are kind of branching out too. We have a lot of clients in the healthcare space as well. We're growing our consumer part of our business a lot too, but I would say our specialty is more fintech, enterprise tech. That's kind of where a lot of us have our background and experience in, but we do cover all the different tech fields and a few outside of the technology world as well.
And I would just add that something we've all learned is that technology honestly impacts every single industry, from retail to education to payments. And so even though we say tech, we really, like you'll see, it's so broad and so much better than just one type of technology. So why tech PR? Like we said, none of us self-define as techies. Personally, I think it's been a really amazing opportunity to learn about all these other industries that I wouldn't have researched otherwise. The last couple of years, I've really started to specialize in fintech or financial technology. So this is sort of digital banks, back-end payments, modernizing banking, how you get your mortgage, all of that. And it's been a really fun opportunity. I also think that we get really hands-on access to executives. A lot of times we start working with companies when they're just a couple hundred employees. Maybe they've raised their first or second round of funding, and we watch them grow into billion-dollar brands.
And to add on to what Margaret said earlier about how our focus is tech, but tech really touches every single industry that we're working on, it really just shows the stability of a career in the tech field as well, which has been evidenced in the times of COVID. We've seen different industries kind of shake, and I mean, there's a lot of things that have happened, but technology is something that's really brought us all together, and it's been that one uniting thing that's either helped us connect on different sides of the world, different coasts and things like that too, but also it's impacting everything that we do. And so even though like we said, we don't self-define as really techie people, tech really does touch our lives in every single aspect of everything that we do. And so it's really fun to be kind of at the center of that and finding those storylines within tech that we can then go out to and try to get people interested and get media relationships and things like that. So it's really fun to be at the center of the growth of technology.
And I'll add that it's a unique thing about working in a tech PR agency is understanding how a lot of different businesses work. Like we work from my accounts personally, I have a couple that are below 100-person startups, and then I work on a couple divisions of Facebook. So rather than going into one of those companies right out of college, I feel like I have a keen understanding of really lean startups that are growing really quickly and how they operate, as well as major companies and big banks like TD Ameritrade that we've worked with in the past. So with the agency, you really get the breadth of experience. And as the New Yorker of the group, I can address this one. But we just opened our New York office less than 2 years ago, so last summer of 2019, to help both of our clients who have New York presence that we want to like foster relationships with, build relationships with reporters, and to sell into new businesses that are based here. So what we found is that New York is a very unique place to do PR. For a few reasons that are different than San Francisco, even where I started my career. So the proximity to reporters and broadcast segments is really unparalleled. I will say, as one of the few people kind of feet on the ground, once we opened the office, I staffed a lot of broadcast meetings for accounts that weren't even my own, because everyone always comes out to New York to do press. So that's been very fun. We've gone to events at the NASDAQ, Cheddar broadcast facilities, the Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg offices, and hosted events at places like the MoMA. There's also a burgeoning tech scene that I'm sure you guys are even more aware of than I am probably, called Silicon Alley instead of Silicon Valley. That's both a mix of big tech like Facebook, who is really doubling down on its New York presence, and then for startups like along consumer tech and fintech. We also have the unique opportunity to connect Method on the East Coast with the rest of our clients that may be based internationally. So I have one client that's based in India and another based in London. And compared to the Pacific time zone, New York really gets to be the bridge between all of them that connects us and makes sure that our team's communicating fluidly. Also specific to Method in New York, it's working here is really an opportunity to get in on the ground floor of a well-established agency that's just getting its like launching off the ground in New York. So you'd be part of a small team, but with a safety net, because we have a very strong brand around the country. And it's not just an office of 4 people, despite us having a small team. The picture on the bottom right is the office that we work out of, and it's one of the other agencies that Sierra mentioned. It's an advertising agency that has let us grab a couple of pods of desks. So when we can go back into the office, there's a larger office culture of happy hours and holiday parties that extends just outside of the few people that we have for Method.
Also a great location. You're right in Flatiron, next to everything.
Yes.
Great coffee shops, the park.
27th and Broadway, close to a lot of subways too.
Even more important.
And this is just an example of a couple of good headlines that should give us hope that the tech scene isn't going anywhere in New York. So we've talked a lot about how it permeates everything that we do, which is awesome, but it also is strengthening a lot just in New York with those expansions of offices, despite a slowdown in real estate, and new startups being founded despite a slowdown in the same. So we're very confident that doubling down on New York is a good time to do so.
We wanted to touch on diversity, equity, and inclusion. It's a really important factor for our founders, for our company, across the employee base, and we definitely see this as an ongoing initiative. But this is just a snapshot of some of the organizations that we've worked with on a pro bono basis, supported financially, and with our time as well.
Yeah, and one thing too with our CEO is he is very passionate about advancing women in tech and women in business as well. So you can see Women Tech Council on the far left is an organization here in Utah that Method sponsors every year too. And then specifically bottom logo, Utah Wonder Woman, it was actually founded by our CEO, and it's just kind of a networking community of some of the leading business women and women in tech here in Utah. And so pre-COVID, we would do about monthly, sometimes or quarterly, sometimes monthly events at either someone's house or at a venue where it was bringing together a lot of the the awesome women here in Utah, and we could we could network, and we'd have someone as a speaker to really to kind of get us all together and bring all that creativity in a room together too. So that's just a quick example of some of the ways that Method approaches DEI.
And we also wanted to talk about our culture. So we've been building Method for 10 years and we're really proud of what we have. And I think one of the biggest things is relationships. It's one of our core values at Method, and the leadership team does a lot to really foster that across offices. So we have a Method Summit every other year. So last year we all gathered in Park City, Utah for 3 days. We did fun bonding activities. We drank together, we bonded together. And I think it just speaks to one of just a key value here. And also throughout the year in pre-COVID times, there are a lot of opportunities to travel across offices, both for client work, but also to be with employees in person. So I think that's really great to see.
And we also have a handful of committees that help us work on things just outside of our client work that we're passionate about. So, and that of course keep the business running. So we have a diversity and inclusion committee. There's one dedicated to the graduate associate program that Margaret and Sierra are on. There's an employee experience that plans all of our holiday parties and the Method Summit, and many more that are focused on things that help our clients, like speaking in events, things that are about method marketing, and they really run the gamut. So most everyone in the company is a part of at least one, and they turn over every year. It's a great way to both get your mind off of just account work sometimes, and then make sure that everyone's contributing to the culture that we all benefit from.
Yeah, and then just a few perks to highlight too. One of them is Method Anywhere, which is something that's really important to our CEO. So before the whole world shut down, before we all were working from home, our CEO made it an effort to make sure that we knew that we could work from home and still be effective. And so we have a really flexible policy of, being in the office when needed, and just kind of making sure that our work is revolving around our schedules. And another thing too is, I know we have physical locations in San Francisco, New York, and Salt Lake City, but another reason why we kind of launched this Method Anywhere initiative was to find the best talent no matter where the location was. And so if we had, we found someone who was based in Austin, Texas, and they weren't at a place to move to one of our physical locations, we could still have them on board and not miss out on that talent, but just we're not really constricted to certain locations. And so that was one of the things that we launched about 1.5 years ago as well. And then on top of that, we have some pretty generous paid time off benefits, healthcare, monthly lunches when we're in the office. And now that we're all remote, we kind of have a monthly budget where we get into small groups and do like a small little lunch meeting with VPs and just different people in the office so that we have that face time together and we can bond, and then we have lunch on Method.
And we just wanted to give a brief program overview of our internship program. So training is a really key component of that. Starting your first day, you'll have a series of trainings, really learning the basics of PR and the work that we do here at agencies. We do not expect folks coming into our program to know everything on day 1, day 2, first month. It's definitely, you'll be learning so much throughout the process. You'll also be matched with a buddy. So this is someone who you'll have regular check-ins with, and they'll be a resource and mentor for you as you go throughout the internship program.
And we also have an integrated approach to keeping interns at the heart of important things that are happening on accounts and with the company. So by no means are you just doing busy work or like fetching coffee, that kind of thing that you see in movies, but instead you're like very much a part of brainstorms that we have, of internal meetings and client calls. So I think especially when we're working with a thorny issue that may need a fresh perspective, we really value someone who may not have a more confined sense of what our options are for a solution, but can bring fresh ideas. And then we also ensure that the leadership of Method is very focused on furthering an intern's growth throughout the program, and making sure that we're helping you with professionalism and hard skills, soft skills, and like really developing the employee that we would love to have on full time.
And as Margaret mentioned, we have a really good mentorship program with our graduate associates. They're called buddies, but as you go throughout, we have different coaching experiences too. And this is all just to make sure that you're getting regular feedback. And I think we have with your buddies, you meet at least twice a month, sometimes more if needed, where you can really talk through your growth and goals and things like that so that you know exactly how you're doing. We have a really open environment here where anyone from intern all the way up to VP is accessible. And if you have questions, you can reach out and get the help that you need to. And so a lot of this is just to make sure that we're getting the feedback that we need in order to grow for ourselves too. And so you're not blindsided, if there's something that you may be struggling with, you're not holding on to it or just waiting until, you explode or anything. So it's all here to make sure that our graduate associates and our employees throughout the company are getting the support they need and the feedback that they need to truly grow.
And something that I don't know we've mentioned is so many of our interns who started at Method have come up through the program and now are SAEs, account supervisors, vice presidents. So it's a really impressive track record, and we really take on interns to mentor them, and with the hope that they'll have a long career, whether that's at Method or somewhere else.
And just a peek at what your role will entail. So as we mentioned, it really permeates the full-time job, and you're a part of every part of an account from the get-go. So probably the bread and butter of what Method does is media relations, and the graduate associates are an integral part of that. So as we're pitching media and securing interviews, our graduate associates are building briefing documents, they're crafting the media list that we use for announcements and pulling together coverage reports as we have news that goes live. And this is a very consistent part of our PR programs. For speaking and awards, it looks a little different this year, granted events wise, but most of our accounts have us develop programs for them where we get our executives on stage at top tier industry events, and graduate associates are very heavily involved in building the lists that we pull from to submit those executives for.
And then a huge key to our success at agencies is organization. We're often working on anywhere from 5 to 7 accounts, juggling different client requests, different events, media inbounds that come through. So a huge part of your job is helping us stay on track with agendas for meetings, action items, note-taking, just being the ears to the ground to making sure that everything's getting done when it needs to.
And oftentimes when we do interviews or when we have new people join our teams, they usually ask us, how can I make sure that I'm doing my job well? Like, what are some key tips? And the thing that we always say is just making sure that you're willing to learn and you're eager. I think the thing that we see people succeed in, people who do really well here, are the ones who are proactive and willing to take on new tasks and to really, get involved on the account too. Another thing too is we know there's, especially right now where we're all kind of remote, it can be easy to kind of just get so involved with your work and just have all your different tasks. And so we try to make it fun. We have different workplace groups on our company. We use Facebook by Workplace as our platform where we communicate with each other. And so we have different interest groups. If you're interested in music, there's a group for that. There's a group for working parents where they can kind of share their frustrations and any tips and things like that. We also have groups, different interest groups, like there's Bachelor and Bachelorette groups, if you like those TV shows, and Real Housewives, so we try to make it fun too. So it's not all work, and you can kind of bond with your fellow employees that way, especially as we're all in this remote setting.
Definitely. Well, I know it's about 2:25, so we'll try to run through the rest of these slides fairly quickly so we can have some time for Q&A before we go into our breakout sessions. But this is just a snapshot of some of the coverage we've secured for our clients during the pandemic. And I think, like everyone saw in March, everything came to a halt. Companies started working remotely, schools shut down. And I think we definitely saw an impact on tech. But as the pandemic has gone on, we've really seen that tech has been resilient and really come back from this. So just as one example, I work with Credit Sesame. They are a personal finance platform that helps you improve your credit. And so they actually acquired a Canadian digital bank during the pandemic. So we secured an article in Business Insider, and we're able to show that there's still growth happening despite the economy.
And I can chime in quickly about the Fast Company article. So one of my clients is Workplace by Facebook. And right at the onset of the pandemic, it was still very much in flux about how people can manage teams remotely when we were unsure of how long we would be working remote. Now talked about very often, but when we placed this in early March, it was still a hot topic. So we wrote the article on behalf of one of our clients and then got it placed in this publication bylined by her.
And then one that I can quickly chime in on too is this benefits pro piece that we got for our client CHG Healthcare. And I know there's a lot of people talking about COVID and a lot of people, just a lot going on right now. And so one way that we were able to generate some media interest is we actually did a survey that we helped draft with CHG. We put together questions about people's thoughts on remote working and then kind of what the ideal workplace was. And so once we issued that survey, analyzed the the results, and then put everything together in more of a digestible format, we were able to pitch that out and get some coverage there. So that's just another way that we've been able to get some coverage when there's not a lot of news going on, is through surveys and data. And then just a few case studies we wanted to share with you. We can kind of run through these quickly, but one of the clients we work with is Vivint Smart Home. And when we very first started working with them, they were called APX Security, and they were known for going door to door and selling security systems. And that was kind of their whole branding. And so they came to us and said, we want to be seen as a smart home company. We want to be seen more for our technology behind the scenes, our work with artificial intelligence, and just a leader with the smart devices rather than just someone who goes door to door and sells security systems. And so we've been working with them for about I think they were actually one of Method's first clients, but what started out as a door-to-door security company has now resulted in them being known as one of the smart home leaders in the space. We actually have cultivated some really good media relationships, and we got a feature article in Forbes that talked about how Vivint is leading the way in the smart home space. And so that's been one of the fun things that we've been able to do to really transform a brand and their image, and to launch them into their next phase as a leader in the smart home space.
Awesome. And then I know I mentioned Credit Sesame earlier, but we just started working with them in February, right before the pandemic. And what's been really fun is we got to launch a new product with them. They historically have been known as a credit management platform. They help you improve your credit score and figure out your finances. But they actually acquired a bank out of Canada and now offer their own digital banking services with no charges, completely free. And it also helps you improve your credit. And so I've been able to do a lot of PR around how consumers are navigating the pandemic, what to do if you've lost your job, how to file for unemployment, how to get out of debt. So that's been a really inspiring project to work on. And we've gotten a lot of press as well, which has been great to see.
And I can keep this one really, really brief. But what's interesting about Workplace is that it's a part of this new wave of companies that are enabling remote work. So this is very timely for us during the pandemic. We tried to capitalize on everyone moving remote to get some more press about their offerings. But also it's interesting because it's a part of Facebook. So it's just one of the many companies that they have in different divisions like gaming, things like that. So it's a challenge in getting positive press when there's a lot of negative things in the media about Facebook, while also trying to latch onto the positive parts of Facebook and that it's scale and how well known it is.
Well, we just want to say thank you so much for taking the time, and definitely want to be able to open it up to a little bit of Q&A before we go into the breakout rooms. So I will go ahead and stop sharing. Did anyone have any general questions for us about PR or method or anything that we touched on? Go ahead.
Yeah, I have a question. As I am not in the communications directly field of academics, what is the difference between PR and marketing, and or overlap?
It's a great question. I can start and then jump in when I miss something, but I'd say that marketing is the umbrella that PR falls under, similar to how advertising and direct emails, SEO, things like that fall under the same marketing umbrella. So for a lot of our clients that are smaller startups, we'll usually work directly with a marketing contact there who oversees all of these like subdivisions. And sometimes for larger companies or companies that have a bigger emphasis on PR, they'll have a dedicated in-house public relations person that is our client. But there's a ton of overlap and increasingly more so lately, which is why Method has a marketing division internally that has social media people. We have content creators, marketing strategists that help bolster marketing efforts in addition to traditional PR.
Yeah, and one of the things that I would add too is where marketing, the overall goal of marketing obviously is to take your product to market and just make sure that you have a good, brand awareness and people know about your company. And what PR really thrives on in traditional PR is earned media versus paid placements and things like that. So with advertising or different marketing departments, if you want to get, if you want to get a billboard with your company's name on it or a spot on TV, you have to pay X amount of dollars and then they'll run it. Where PR, we try to get that coverage organically. And so that's where pitching media comes in. Byline articles where we have, an executive write an article and then we pitch it to different publications to see if they want to run that piece. And so where traditional advertising and marketing dollars get spent through, paid media ops, PR is more looking for those earned media ops and just getting that third party validation through our relationships with the media too, if that makes sense.
Yeah, thanks.
Should we maybe kick off the breakout sessions and we can have more intimate Q&As?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
All right. So Tiffany, our manager of operations and events, is now going to put everyone into rooms for probably a little less than 10 minutes each. Students, you will stay in the room, and then we're going to have Sierra, Sarah, and Margaret kind of be switching around. So 10 minutes in each room, ask questions, be curious, and then if there's any questions at the end, we'll all meet back up just for a couple of minutes. All right, we're all back. I know we're at time, it's 3 o'clock and everybody's busy, but please join me in saying a huge thank you to Sierra, Margaret, and Sarah for being with us today. This was awesome. It was so great getting to hear about the culture at Method, all of the amazing diversity and inclusion initiatives, your amazing culture, your workplace, just tech PR in general and how it's growing. I hope all the students here learned a lot and are maybe going to think about a career potentially in this field. I was in one of the breakout rooms and heard some really great discussions, so thank you. If there's any additional questions, please ask them now. Our speakers have agreed to stay for just a couple extra minutes if there are, and if not, we'll be asking them if they are willing to share their contact information, and we'll certainly share that along with the presentation with you all. Any final thoughts, comments? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for being here. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. I know there were students joining from France and people tuning in from New York City and other places, and I'm sure a lot of people watch the recording too. So thank you and have a wonderful rest of your day.
Yeah, thank you all. And Sasha, we'll share all our contact information, LinkedIn, everything so that you can distribute it too.
And we'll share a PDF of the deck too. But it was great chatting with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Great to meet you all.
Thanks.
Bye. Thanks.
Bye.
Thank you.